Courtney Clenny, the OnlyFans model, murdered her boyfriend. This is what she wrote on social media right before it happened. Miss me? I've got something extra special just for my biggest fans tonight. Who's ready for a private surprise? DM me for something I know you've been waiting for. Let's make this one unforgettable. Courtney Clenny was a social media star. She had millions of followers. And now she's charged with the brutal killing of her boyfriend Christian in their Miami high-rise. Was it self-defense or a cold-blooded murder? And why didn't anyone see the signs? I mean, she had millions of fans. She's posting this stuff every day. I mean, this wasn't just another domestic dispute. When police arrived, they found Clenny drenched in blood. Initially, they thought that she was the victim. There was so much blood, but it turns out it was her boyfriend, Christian, right? They found that out after they cleaned it up, after they cleaned her up. And that's when the horror set in. There's not a scratch on her. This was a real-life CSI moment, right? The blood trail told the story. Experts started piecing it together. How Christian moved, how he struggled, how he tried to get away, tried to get help. I mean, the evidence suggests that he was stabbed in the kitchen, then stumbled through the apartment, and then leaving a trail of blood until he collapsed. The prosecution argued that this wasn't a moment of self-defense. This was an act of rage. The court documents reveal that Christian had a fatal stab wound, 3 inches deep, straight into a major artery. Okay. But here's where it gets really disturbing. Clenny insists actually, that she threw the knife from 10 feet away in a bizarre courtroom spectacle that really had it straddled the line between forensic science and sideshow theatrics. The defense brought in an expert knife thrower. There is such a thing, right? To hurl blades at a pig carcass in an attempt to replicate the victim's wounds. The goal was to prove that the wounds could have happened from a distance rather than an up-close personal attack, as the prosecution had alleged. So, not to be outdone, the state brings in their own expert knife thrower. I didn't even know there was such a thing, right? And they're now having dueling demonstrations in the courtroom as knives are being hurled and thudded into this pale, lifeless flesh of a pig. So knife throwing, by its very nature, is inconsistent, right? There are factors like rotation and velocity and angle of impact. I mean, they vary with each throw, making it nearly impossible, right, to have a reliable method to mimic the precise stab wounds. That's why knives are so interesting in a criminal case. I mean, the use of a pig carcass, which is common in forensic studies because it's physiological similarities to human flesh. It's meant to lend credibility to the demonstration. But can you imagine bringing in a pig carcass in the middle of trial? I mean, in the end, the reality is that throwing a knife at dead tissue is a far cry from replicating the controlled force of a deliberate stabbing. I mean, at best, it's an entertaining display of skill. At worst, it's manipulative distraction meant to dazzle the jury into reasonable doubt. And guess what? Even the experts couldn't replicate what happened. And the prosecution's take, well, the knife was not thrown from 10 feet away, the back of the courtroom. It was up close and personal, straight into Christian's chest with deadly force. And then there's the history between the two, right? Can't forget that. The defense wants you to believe that Clenny was the battered woman. But the surveillance footage, thank God for the digital footprint, tells a different story. In one clip, Clenny is seen attacking Christian in the elevator. Right? You can see him there. She's punching, slapping, pulling his hair, and Christian's just standing there. He's doing nothing. He's just trying to shield himself. And in the weeks before the murder, neighbors from 2 floors up and 2 floors down, imagine how many witnesses that is, they report constant, violent arguments. Security had called police multiple times. One neighbor even found a framed picture, right, ironically, of a tiger thrown from Clenny's balcony onto their own, right? And what about Clenny's social media? I mean, could we have seen this coming? Absolutely. I mean, I love it when people leave a digital footprint like that, right? I mean, if you look beyond the glamour and the selfies, there were hints of something much darker, right? Her online persona showed a woman who thrived on attention and drama, and some posts hinted at alcohol-fueled rants, cryptic messages about love and pain, and erratic behavior. I mean, it just boggles the mind how people will just display this out there for public viewing. I mean, behind the filtered photos, was there a warning sign? I mean, did Christians, friends, and family see something and then not report it? I mean, that's a tough position to be in too, right? And then there were the chilling text messages. Christian himself wrote this: "Is love going to kill me?" I mean, let that sink in. Is love going to kill me? He knew. He knew what was coming. He felt it in his core. I mean, just weeks before his death, he's texting that to Clenny. And Clenny, right? I mean, he's texting her. I mean, he's saying, he's like telling people how Clenny had once stabbed him in the leg. I mean, this is abuse, right? How she constantly attacked him, how he sacrificed his pride just to keep the peace. And what did Clenny respond? Right? She writes in her own journal, which, by the way, is admissible in court, "Now I'm just effing abusive." Why is that? That's her response to him telling her that you've been attacking me and stabbing me. So where does the defense stand? I mean, they want the jury to believe Clenny was in fear for her life. Clenny's in, this is self-defense, that Christian is the real abuser, he's the aggressor, but there's a problem, right? Where's the evidence? Every piece of surveillance, every eyewitness account, every text message, every social media post paints the same picture: Clenny as the aggressor. So even when the police came before the murder, she's playing the system. She's playing victim. We have body cam footage of her asking officers how she can get a restraining order before Christian does. And let's not forget what she said after she stabbed him, right? I mean, when she's informed that Christian is dead, she says to the police, "If he dies, that's a lot worse for me, isn't it?" I mean, that's the question that she's asking, right? What about his family? I mean, as if it wasn't enough, right? Her parents, Clenny's parents, are later caught combing through Christian's laptop after his death, like vultures, right? Trying to destroy evidence against their daughter. I mean, the charges against them were dropped, but it does raise serious questions, right? How enabling are they? And what are they trying to hide? What are they trying to cover up about their daughter? And what did they know beforehand? Right? So where does that leave us? I mean, the prosecution has built a case that's hard to ignore, right? There's a pattern of violence, a victim who saw his own death coming, and a crime scene that contradicts Clenny's self-defense claim. The defense is left scrambling. They're trying to make the jury believe a story that the evidence just doesn't support. So what's the verdict going to be? Well, in the court of public opinion, I mean, that's up to the jury, right? But if I were a betting person, I would say that Clenny is facing a long time behind bars, as she should. Thanks for listening. If you liked what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. It helps me grow. And meanwhile, stay informed, stay curious. And as always, stay safe.